Hello, this is the Elections and the Political Process, Section B, the process for electing a U.S. President, Part 2. So if you're watching last time, we're picking up right where we started talking about the Electoral College. The framers set up a special body of presidential electors that would actually choose the president and the vice president. Our founding fathers, again, had very little confidence in us. They felt like the average person probably would never be able to effectively choose a president or a vice president. So they thought, let's just get a group of people and they'll pick because, regular people aren't that smart. So this group, known as the Electoral College, which meets for their meeting on the first Monday after the second Wednesday in December after the presidential election, where they will actually cast their votes. Under the original provisions of the Constitution, each state would have as many electors as it had members in Congress. So, great state of Tennessee, we have 9 people in the U.S. House of Representatives. We have 2 people in the U.S. Senate. So, therefore, 11 electors, people, will be chosen as our representatives to pick the president and vice president. And those electors acting independently would cast 2 ballots for a president, with the candidate with a majority of the electoral votes, meaning they have to have more than half, and also the most overall votes becoming the president, and then the candidate with the second most overall votes, majority not necessary, becoming vice president. And then these electoral votes are cast in your own state. They're opened in front of a joint session of Congress and actually counted by the Vice President of the United States. If no candidate received a majority of the electoral votes, or if there were a tie, then the selection of a president and a vice president is left to Congress. For being honest, another fun side note about the Founding Fathers, they thought we would only infrequently be able to choose a president or a vice president. They felt like Congress was probably going to have to decide who it was most of the time, but they've only decided a handful of times, so pleasant surprise, I guess. The House, which actually votes by state, every state only gets 1 vote, chooses a president among the top 3 candidates that received electoral votes. So you don't even actually have to have come in the top 2 to become president if it goes to this Congress. You just have to be in the top 3, although you do have to receive electoral votes. And the Senate, which they all vote individually, chooses a vice president among the top 2 candidates. So if you come in 3rd place, you have a chance to be president, but you actually have no chance to be vice president because, reasons. Should point out, for some reason, there's a tie in the Senate. Vice president can actually break that tie if necessary. Due in large part to the rise of political parties, the original Electoral College system broke down in the election of 1800, which resulted in a tie between Thomas Jefferson and Aaron Burr. So it was intended Thomas Jefferson was going to be the president, Aaron Burr the vice president, and what most everyone was supposed to do if you were an elector, you would give 1 vote for the top guy and one of you hold back a vote. But they did not actually do that here, so you had a tie. Both major parties had nominated presidential and vice presidential candidates and candidates to serve as electors. While Jefferson was intended to be the president and Burr the vice president, each elector casting 2 votes for president left no clear winner. And then, after 36 separate ballots in the House, Jefferson was finally declared the president. After the election of 1800, the 12th Amendment, which was ratified in 1804, was passed, which instructed electors to cast 1 ballot for president and 1 ballot for vice president. So this did 2 things. It ensured no more ties, and it also ensured that the Founding Fathers' vision of this enlightened group of citizens freely choosing the best qualified person to be president was replaced by a party-driven process for selecting a president. Under the current electoral college system, there are a total of 538 electoral votes possible, and the candidate and running mate receiving at least 270 votes wins the election. So every state, with the exception of 2 states, and those are Nebraska and Maine, they select their electors based on a winner-takes-all state popular election. So basically how that would work, if it was the great state of Tennessee, Han Solo gets 1 million popular votes. Indiana Jones gets one less vote, 999,999. Yet Han Solo would get all 11 of those electoral votes. And even though Indy only lost by a vote, sorry, you get 0 electors. That's how our system is. Now, there are actually 3 major defects with our current electoral college system. Due to the winner-take-all feature of the different state elections, the winner of the popular vote may not actually win the presidency. So what these 5 people have in common is they all actually had the most popular votes for president when they ran, but the other person won. And this has actually happened twice since 2000, so this is becoming a more frequent problem. Also, electors are not bound by the Constitution or by any federal law to vote for the candidate or candidates that they were elected to vote for. This has actually happened during 11 different elections. So, for instance, this is how it looked on election night. It looked like Donald Trump should get 306, Hillary Clinton should get 232. But when the electors actually voted, a couple other people got some votes. So Colin Powell, which wasn't even running, he actually came in 3rd place. And man, we missed out. Spotted Eagle. We don't get Spotted Eagle as president. It's too bad. Ron Paul got a vote. John Kasich got a vote. Bernie Sanders got a vote, which wasn't even on that. You can't see him, but he's there. Yeah. In any presidential election, it is possible that the contest will be decided in the House, where voting is actually state by state. This has only happened twice, 1800 and 1824. Fun side note, both those times were for John Adams. 1800 was against John Adams, hurt him the second time, 1824, John Quincy Adams, but it actually helped him. Many critics of the current electoral college system have advocated for replacing it with a direct popular election, where the president would actually just be the winner of the popular vote. But supporters of the current system claim critics exaggerate the dangers, noting that it's a known process, quickly identifying a winner. So they might point out that, hey, if it was just popular vote, you just have New York City, Florida, Texas, and California. They'd basically just be picking the president every time. All right, this concludes elections in the political process. Section B, the process for electing a president. Part 2 is now completed. We hit prioritize standard government civics 26, and objectively, you can now examine the process for electing a president and a vice president.